What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All NBA Show, a very special Sunday night edition of the All NBA Show. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, the camp leader himself, Tim Legler. Legs, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to see you, man. Are you enjoying your summer so far?
I mean, yes, for sure I am. But, you know, basketball, the Olympics interrupting it a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, true.
Had to watch Canada too, because I got Jokic. Of course, I got to watch Team Serbia. We got to prepare for this show, but I had to watch Canada as well and see what Jamal Murray was up to. Spoiler alert, didn't look that great.
Well, you got lucky because, like you said, you have to watch Jokic, and he was playing Team USA, who you also have to watch. You killed two birds with one stone.
It's true, but it won't be the case the rest of the week. I'm going to be back in regular season mode. On today's show, we're going to talk about, so Legler has a camp that he hosts every single year, and it starts tomorrow. So he's in the thick of his camp planning, and I thought that would be a great opportunity to talk about how he coaches, how he teaches youth basketball, what things he emphasizes, what kind of stuff his camp does. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the Olympics, Team USA's dominant win over Serbia, and we're also going to get into ESPN's top 25 of the 21st century list, which I think will be interesting. But our top story is, of course, the U.S. dominating Serbia. A very well-played game, I thought, by both sides in the first half. But Kevin Durant's 23 points on 8 of 9 shooting, including 5 of 5 from the three-point line, fueled a big U.S. run in the second quarter. And then LeBron James with 21 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 9 of 13 shooting, pretty dominant from him. Those two guys just looked like basketball gods in this one as U.S. gets the win 110-84, a 26-point win. All right, Legs. It was a good game. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was – maybe I'm just missing basketball because it's been away for a while, but I thought this was a very fun and entertaining game. But what stood out to you about it?
Yeah, there's not a lot of basketball you're going to watch once the finals end before the next season that involves any element of pressure.
Right.
I mean, because there's a whole lot of stuff we saw in Vegas, and, it's clearly, all those guys, I guess maybe they face some pressure. They're trying to make a team. You want to impress somebody, but for the most part, the spots are limited on those teams. You're mainly focused on their top picks. Those guys are locked in for 3 or 4 years. There's not a ton of pressure to play well on those guys in the summer league. So there's an element of pressure to the Olympics that I love. I just love that component. Like, you're watching it, and, Serbia was hard to put away in the first half. They'd go down 10, then they'd come back and cut it to 4. And you're like, wow, this is an interesting half. And so there was an element of pressure there, for Team USA. And with the expectation level there is through the roof. So that's what made it compelling to me to watch. And my first thought is this: if Kevin Durant is just okay in this game, if he plays okay, like average, this game probably is going to be maybe, within 6 points with like 5 minutes to go in the game. I really believe that. Kevin Durant completely changed the tenor and tone of this game when he came in and what he did offensively. Started it with the 3-ball and some catch and shoots. Then he got into some mid-range, and then he hit the shot at the end of the half off a designed play with a little fadeaway 15-footer. But he was perfect in the first half shooting. He got them the separation. And I thought also collectively allowed them to breathe a sigh of relief because of the start that they had to the game, right? They're down double digits early in the game, and nothing's going well offensively. They had no flow, very stagnant. They weren't stopping them. Serbia's getting whatever shots they wanted. And Durant came in, and in a very short period of time, Team USA had the lead, really because of him. And LeBron was spectacular throughout the game. It was clearly LeBron's game. He controlled the game. He was the most dynamic force on the court. He was the guy that was dictating where the ball went and how it got there. Unguardable with his strength and his power and his force. But it was the scoring and shooting prowess of Kevin Durant in that first half that allowed Team USA to relax and settle them down. And you can expect nerves in the first game. of the Olympics with so much expectation and a good team they're playing. So I thought Durant to me was the storyline, got them separation. They held on to that separation pretty much the rest of the game. LeBron was the best player on the floor. Kevin Durant was the key to them getting this win and being able to kind of relax and calm their nerves.
So Kevin Durant misses all of the lead up to this. He's got that calf strain. He didn't play in any of the exhibition games. And I didn't know if he was going to play. There was rumors that maybe he sits out this one and he joins the team later in the week, and that's when he works his way into the rotation. So I didn't know what to expect from him. He could have been a disruptive force, even though, look, I mean, the guy's one of the best players of all time, so he knows how to play the game. But you never know with rust and everything else how a guy's going to look. But he comes in immediately and hits a tough shot, then another tough shot, and he's such a ceiling raiser. And when you talk about Team USA, LeBron's going to be your floor raiser. Like, he's just so good. And to your point, he controls the game. You've got a bunch of guys, Anthony Davis, that can do their job and they're going to make it tough on the other team. But delivering knockout punches, Kevin Durant's that guy because he made, 8 of 9 shots today, I believe. Yeah, 8 of 9 from the field. Somehow he gets to 23 points on 9 shots, which is crazy. But 8 of 9 from the field. And I think all 8 of them were tough shots, like shots that you wouldn't say, oh, that was comfortable. Spinning, turnaround, full speed up the court, stop and pop from 3. They were tough ones. And to me, this is why this Team USA is so special. They've got so many guys, but you do what Serbia did, which was a heroic first 10 minutes of the game. Just unbelievable start. They were playing so hard, getting out on the break. And all of a sudden, some guy comes in, hits 5 straight tough shots. And you go, what do you do?
Well, yeah. And it was, he energized their team. This the reaction early in the game with some turnovers, some missed shots. They weren't guarding. Yeah. You just had a weird start. The vibe was not good. And when Kevin Durant went on his little personal run, it's got everybody into the game. And that's the first time you saw them like smiling. They were starting to have some fun. And it felt like, okay, natural talent, order is restored here. We're a much more talented team. And we're going to be okay from here on out. And they were. It's funny. He goes 8 for 8, I believe, in the first half. He took 1 shot in the second half. The guy goes 8 for 8. In the first half, gets 1 look. That's the essence of playing on a team like this, right? Yeah. With this many great players, this many guys that can score. Durant was sensational, man. And I think what you saw overall was this level of shot making for Team USA. And they didn't shoot the ball particularly well from the 3 leading up to this. Like in the exhibition game,
that's right.
They weren't great from the 3. And it was compelling thinking about coming in, how teams are going to defend them. Where are you going to see a little bit of zone, a little bit of, packing the paint a little bit more, daring guys to shoot. Team USA did 3-point contributions from a number of guys today. They tore the lid off the basket. Durant really did that. What you saw was, the level of athletic ability that they were going against. Those guys were just a little bit late getting off the ground to contest these shots. So for a guy like Kevin Durant, who's already 6'11", one of the greatest strokes this league has ever seen, and that kind of range, he wasn't playing against the same level of athlete that he does every night in the NBA, where you've got a 6'7", a 6'8", 6'9" guy that's so quick off their feet that his window of opportunity to get it off is so much smaller. It didn't feel that way today. It felt like he was super relaxed and comfortable. Every shot he took, everything he went up into, because he knew there's just no way they were going to really offer a legitimate contest on his release. And as a result, he hits that first one, and it was just like a floodgate opened for him. And it made it look incredibly easy. Everybody was in awe of it. The broadcasters, they talked to Kerr and Spoelstra. Spoelstra at halftime, he was in awe of what he was watching because Durant was just spectacular. He was just so much better than everybody else in the court in the first half offensively.
So he kind of reminds me, the way he played today, Kevin Durant, reminds me of Carmelo in his last Olympics, where he's coming off the bench and he's this, okay, whatever happens in the beginning, Team USA is usually going to overwhelm you. But if they don't, there's a second wave that comes in. And it's like no team in the world has the depth that Team USA has. And so Kevin Durant was that. He was the second wave where it was like Serbia withstood the first one, really impressive. But that second wave just took them off their feet. And I wonder if you feel that's the role he needs to play on this team. In my opinion, he's one of the 3 best players on this team. You talk about LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, maybe throw Joel Embiid, but we're going to talk about him here in a second and his struggles. But those 3 guys that I mentioned are probably the 3 best, and yet one of them's coming off the bench. But it kind of makes sense for what the tournament calls for. What do you think of that?
Yeah, no, and it's, Steve Kerr alluded to this. I thought it was a good analogy. You referred to an NBA season as a marathon, and There's all kinds of peaks and valleys, ebbs and flows, and you're going through and you're trying to find throughout the course of the season what is going to be your best solution at the end of the year in the playoffs. And there's all kinds of iterations of that throughout the year, a lot of times because of injuries and guys playing well and not and trades and all kinds of stuff. It's not what this is. He referred to this as a sprint. This is just win the game. Every game. Win the game tonight, whatever it takes, whatever lineup is working, that's the lineup that's going to get more minutes because he has so many places he can go as a solution. That's not really the case in a regular season game for these coaches. Tyronn Lue's sitting there, Eric Spoelstra, what a coaching staff. These guys are sitting there, and normally most nights, those top 2 or 3 guys, they're top of the food chain. They do what they want, and everybody else is sort of plug and play. But you don't have this many options. So on a given night, it could be different people. And in this, I expect it to be Durant, LeBron, and Curry every night, regardless. Like those 3 guys are going to get their touches, their shots as they should. Everybody else around them, it's going to be more, I think, of a night-to-night situation. As obviously we saw it with playing time alone in this game, and we'll get into that in a second. But even just opportunities that you get to score and be the focal point and get it going. I think Durant, Curry, and LeBron, it's going to be every night, consistent touches and opportunities. And then I think everybody else, it's going to be more of who's got it going tonight and what group got into a rhythm for us.
So LeBron, Kevin Durant, those guys were 1, 2 in whatever order you want to put them. I would put KD 1, LeBron 2 in this game, but they were spectacular. Who is the 3rd best Team USA player tonight?
I thought
by the way, real quick in the chat, I'm curious for the chat to chime in on this one because I want to hear what they have to say, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
First of all, I've seen all kinds of stuff in this chat about people hating on Kevin Durant. I don't even know what they're talking about. Like if you're talking about,
you got to ignore that.
You think ESPN has a narrative against Kevin Durant? Then you can save that for the people to do that because that's not me. So I don't know what you're talking about. And by the way, I do feel LeBron James was the best player on the court today because he controlled the entire game for Team USA. He controlled the entire game for them. Durant was spectacular offensively. So people are so sensitive about stuff. My goodness. Anyway, I thought Jrue Holiday was fantastic today.
I agree. That would have been my pick.
Curry was great too, but I thought Jrue Holiday was probably the 3rd best player today.
Yeah.
Because he gave you a little bit more offensive punch than I expected. I didn't think that was necessarily going to be his role on this team. And look, he shot great. He was 6 for 8. That's crazy because 8 shots on this team is a decent number of shots. I mean, Durant, we're talking about him, how great he was. He took 9 shots. That's what it's going to look like with this team. The double-digit shots are going to be rare for a lot of these guys. LeBron took 13. That was the most on the team. I'm looking. Is he the only guy? He's the only guy that took double-digit shots, LeBron James. And that's going to be kind of how it goes. Jrue Holiday got 8 shots up, made 6. His defense was really good. His hands like normal. But I thought his offensive punch, with particularly a couple of the step-back threes that he hit, that was nice to get 19 points out of Jrue Holiday when you're looking at him on this team as more of like that defender, bother, some of these guards on these international teams, which there's a lot of really good players on these teams that can score at the guard spot. I thought that'd be more his role. We talk more about that. How's he going to disrupt, let's say, Bogdanovich in this game? But it was his offense that was, I think, a little bit unexpected with this group, that he was going to have that kind of an opportunity to get 19 points. And again, 19 points, 15 points in 23 minutes. Good minutes, good offensive production for Jrue Holiday.
His shots are the backbreakers because his defense is obviously insane. And by the way, Bogdanovich, Micic, both of those guys I thought struggled, especially in the first half, and Jrue Holiday had a lot to do with that. But when he gives you step back threes, that, again, I know it's funny to say it, a 26-point game, but there are these moments, even in the blowout, where you're like, okay, Serbia can get back into this, or Serbia can make things interesting. And I felt like Jrue Holiday twice in that second half had step back threes that were just like, all right, well, it was 9 points. Now it's back up to 12. And what do you do there? And so he was just fantastic. I mean, he really, to me, it was an easy choice that it would have been him. Let's talk about, there's 2 elephants in the room. One of them is this. We talked about this last week when we previewed Team USA. Joel Embiid is a phenomenal player, but is he a great player on a team like this where everyone's good and everyone has to adjust to the role? I thought Devin Booker adjusted to this role. Jrue Holiday, when you talk about the even shooting, everybody kind of fit in except for one guy, Joel Embiid. 4 points tonight, 2 of 5 shooting. I thought Jokic kind of had his way with him many times in the one-on-one when he got him in the post. But even offensively, it didn't flow in those first 4 minutes or whatever it was that he was out there. They sub him out and immediately make a run. Every time he came into the game, they won by 26 points tonight, Legs. They lost the Embiid minutes. That's insane to me. So what do you make of that? Is it a big deal, or is it, hey, it happens?
It's crazy. I don't know. And I don't know what it actually ended up being, but I made a mental note that at one point he was like a minus 20 in the first half because the way the game started, and that's not all on him. I mean, they got off to a bad start. So you're down double digits, and then he came out of the game. And then Team USA went on a roll, mainly led by Kevin Durant, and they get a double-digit lead. And then Embiid comes back in the game, and that entire thing got erased. And again, I'm not putting it all on him, but he was caught up in 2 bad shifts in the first half. And listen, I don't know that starting out the game and feeding the ball to the post on a team like this makes a lot of sense to me. I almost feel like it's the other way around. Because when those guys start going from the perimeter and the way the floor is going to have to extend defensively, then Joel Embiid becomes like he's got one-on-one coverage with that space in the middle. Forget about it. It's over. But to come down a court and just immediately kind of go in there a few times early, and it was not good possessions. He didn't get into any kind of rhythm. And by the way, and I don't know if there was something wrong with him. They said that he and Anthony Davis were struggling with some sort of an illness yesterday. And they were the only 2 guys really in question at all going into the game from a health perspective. But Steve Kerr said yesterday he expected everybody to play, and they did. But he looked miserable. I don't know what was going on with him. Is it just not fun for him, like playing on a team like this? For some guys, it's like, hey, man, I'm going to adapt what I have to. I want to play with these guys because this is one of the greatest teams ever assembled. I want to win a gold medal. I want to represent the United States. Like, this is international competition, and I'm representing my country. Like, I'm gonna buy into it for that reason alone. Plus, I get to play with these guys in a different setting than an all-star game when this stuff really matters. There's a lot at stake. So whatever, man. If I get 6 shots like Devin Booker did, okay, so be it. That's a quarter for me most nights in an NBA game.
Right.
That's fine, though. I'm going to buy in. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to take advantage of my opportunities. And B did not look in flow, but he also didn't look like he was like thrilled about being there or something. So look, and I don't want to, yeah, exactly. Totally. And his face, and he comes out, he goes, sits on the end of the bench. He looks miserable. Like, I don't know if he wasn't feeling well. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that's the case. Okay. But this whole situation is awkward for these guys. It is an awkward situation that you're asking them to buy into. It is. Some of these guys get to play a lot like they do in the regular season and playoffs in the NBA. LeBron at the top of the list, okay? But some guys don't. And you've got to be able to somehow still have your moments and affect the game. But more importantly, play with an enthusiasm and a bounce. And I didn't feel like Embiid did that today. He didn't look too super into it, and certainly wasn't very effective in the game. And so we'll see where he's at mentally when they come back for game 2. These next 2 should not be very challenging.
You'd think.
You wouldn't expect it to be. It shouldn't be.
Right.
And I know South Sudan gave him a tough game. I think they're going to have that in their minds when they play them, and try to eliminate all sort of anxiety early in that game. I don't think they're going to be tested very much the next 2 games. In the quarterfinals, semis, that'll be different. But let's see what Embiid's got now in these next couple games. Can he find that rhythm and flow and like joy? Because I didn't see much of that today out of him.
I have a slightly different read on it. I agree with you, first of all, about the presence, right? That he just looked like he was wearing the frustration of, man, this team is not playing well when I'm on the court. And it's an extension, in my opinion, of the exhibition games. He was, I think in one game, the team was really good when he was on the court, but in all the other exhibition games, they just looked better with Anthony Davis or Bam on the floor. And I think he's wearing it. But to me, I actually thought this was a game where he was trying to fit in, especially after that first stint. The first stint was clunky. I thought it was awkward. But after that, he'd catch the ball on the perimeter, quick pass, screen. Like he was just trying to make quick, I'm just going to be a screener. The thing is, my critique of Embiid all along has been that I don't think he reads the court for his teammates very well. He reads it for himself well, and he's worked on that extremely hard. But does he understand, though, all right, where is the defense and where do I need to go with the ball? How do I make it easy for the guy I'm about to pass to? How do I do that? And I think that's what when we talk about this is LeBron's team, he's taken control. The identity is his. He controls it. Some guys slot in. Embiid now has to be his first thought. How do I set things up for what we're trying to do? And I actually think it is a deficiency in his skill set. As great as he is, that's one thing that I think he still lacks is, okay, how do I make life easier for these other people when I'm not scoring and putting pressure on the defense? Maybe he doesn't need to do that in the NBA, but I just don't think it's a thing he knows how to do. And today I thought he tried.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that comes naturally to him at all. I don't necessarily think there's a great feel for that. Doesn't have to when he's playing for the Sixers. He doesn't have to. Everything's flowing through him. He's always in rhythm because he gets every touch in the world and nothing happens really before he gets up there. So it was an interesting take on. I was thinking to myself, here you got Jokic on the other team. Giannis is obviously playing in this in the Olympics. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, these are the three guys that have been at the top of the MVP voting here, right, for the last several years. And it's like for Embiid, like Jokic, now, Serbia is not going to win a gold medal. I don't think Greece is either. But those guys get to do whatever they want, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Because of the circumstances of the teams they're on, it's still everything's going through them. And here Embiid is being asked to like play this much smaller role for the greater good. And I'm not saying he's like selfish or anything. I'm just saying for some guys, it's just harder to fit in that way. And it's harder to find fun in that. And that's what it looked like to me today for him. And we'll see what that looks like going forward.
Well, another guy that I think maybe fits that description a little bit is Jayson Tatum, who very curiously tonight was a DNP. Him and Tyrese Halliburton, the two guys on the team that did not play. Guys that did play included Derek White and Drew Holiday, his teammates. But Tatum was a DNP tonight. It makes sense when you look at, okay, what were the wings? LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant. Those guys are pretty good. But in your opinion, this was, by the way, no illness. He was asked after the game. Kerr was asked about it. This was a coaching decision. This was the rotation they thought was best for this specific game. Do you agree with that? That Tatum, when you look at the guys that play and how they play, that Tatum is probably a guy that is the odd man out, at least to start?
Absolutely not. I totally disagree with what happened to him today. I thought it was incredibly disrespectful. Jayson Tatum's got a hell of a resume. Jayson Tatum has got a much greater resume than guys on that team today that were playing a lot of minutes. You mentioned two teammates. They played 40 minutes between the two of them. Derek White, Drew Holiday. And you could say, well, they play a different position. And if you're Jayson Tatum, you're dealing with Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant on the wing. Okay. Jayson Tatum's been all league how many times? Jayson Tatum's an NBA champion. Jayson Tatum's had MVP votes. I mean, Jayson Tatum to not play in this game. And I didn't hear anything about Tatum going in. By about middle of the second quarter, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting here, because what happens is you reach a point of no return as a head coach, and they reached that by the middle of the second quarter. Unless you got Jayson Tatum on the court for the last 5-6 minutes of the second quarter, and maybe he comes out there and plays great, that would lead to more minutes in the second half. Once he didn't play in the first half, it becomes then something for the coach to not disrespect him. As crazy as that sounds, it's more disrespectful to give him a few minutes at the end of the game than not play him. Because by not playing him, Steve Kerr is saying, you know what? I can't play 12 guys. Can't play 12. So on a given night, it's not going to be somebody's turn. Tonight, I guess he decided it was Tatum and Halliburton's turn. And maybe it would have been different if Durant came in and went 2 for 6. Maybe Tatum gets some of those minutes in the second half. I don't know that to be the case. And playing 12 guys is damn near impossible when you're actually playing for something. And an all-star game is one thing. This is really tough. My point is then, if it's so hard, don't take 12 guys. None of these – no, seriously, none of these players should go through this.
Really?
None of these guys.
Man, I'm so surprised by
the best
take.
Players in the damn world, and you're going to sit there and not take your warm-ups off? Come on, man.
I mean, somebody has to do it. So you're saying that you should run with 10 guys and then 2 guys that are like, not this caliber, 2 guys that are clearly below that caliber.
Adam, if you're going to say that, Derek White just joined the damn team.
That's so true.
Derek White was the 5th best player on his own team in the regular season. Yeah. And this guy comes in and plays, how many minutes did he play? He played 15 minutes.
Yeah, he played
15 minutes. I mean, you don't think that's burning Jayson Tatum? And I was watching his reaction, right? It was hard to tell in the first half. First half, it's kind of hard to tell. Now, Halliburton, I didn't know this. I thought he might be a guy that would get shortchanged on minutes. I expected that to kind of happen. He looked like he was mentally okay with everything the entire time. Tatum was pretty good in the first half, but the whole time he's thinking, all right, at some point I'm going in. He did not look happy in the second half. He did not look happy. And he might deny it or whatever. And I'm big and believer, man. In reading facial expressions and body language from TV is hard to do. It's easier to do it when you're at the arena, and I could really get a better feel if I'm sitting near that bench. But just from TV, he didn't look happy, man, as that game was going on. He's thinking to himself, he with the resume he has, to be the guy that gets shortchanged for Bam Adebayo, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Anthony Edwards even. These are the guys that he gets shortchanged for. I think that probably bothered Jayson Tatum. By the way, listen, I'm not disrespecting any of the guys I just mentioned. I'm just talking about Jayson Tatum. This has nothing to do with those guys. They're all great players. But Derek White just got added to the team.
Right.
He just got added to the team. And so what if Kawhi was still there and healthy and playing? Jayson Tatum be like, why did I even come?
Why did I join up? Yeah.
So now you got so I'm just, this is going to be very interesting going forward. Now, does Kerr change up like game to game? Is next game Tatum get minutes in the first quarter and we see how it goes? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know where. Look, I'm not saying this is easy. What I'm saying is if this is what's going to happen to some of these guys, then take 10 players.
Man, it's surprising. We rarely disagree to this extent. Part of what I've loved about Tatum this last year, he's become an NBA champion in large part by sacrificing some of these things. Now, this is a huge sacrifice, a DNP. That's a huge sacrifice, but I almost am more empathetic for him, and I hope that he has a great moment in this tournament. At some point, he gets in and makes a big contribution, but somebody had to do it. I kind of like the way Team USA played today, and I don't know if he offered something that was necessarily missing. He might have done it as well as everybody else did it. But to me, you said it best. Somebody had to not play. Before we get out of here, though, real quick, I just want to ask you about Team Serbia. I was very impressed with them. I mean, for a team that features 4 NBA players, one of which, Jokic, is barely in the league, just got there. He's just still getting his feet wet in it. Another one, Micic, just got there. So you have a team that doesn't have a ton of NBA players, but I love the way they played. Fast-paced. Their fast breaks were incredible, I thought, in this one. They moved the ball so quick. In the half court, I love their ball movement and people movement. I thought they had some really nice stuff in the half court. They're massively outgunned. But Jokic in this one, by the way, 31 minutes and was a 0 plus minus. They lost the 9 minutes he didn't play, which is insane when you talk about the talent discrepancy here. But did you see anything interesting from Serbia that you want to comment on?
No, I agree. I was impressed. And it's a shame for them and for Jokic that 2 of his NBA brethren, he needed to play better. I mean, Jovic and Micic, both of those guys can play, and they went 4 for 16 between them. I mean, when you have, and a lot of look, I think they said on the broadcast there's 68 NBA players in the Olympics.
Yeah,
that's incredible alone. Just think about that, 68, man. And like when you have a team with only 4, and Jokic is going to do his thing. Bogdanovic is really, I thought, pretty good today, 6 for 14 points. But those other 2 guys, and they're younger. Especially Jovic, man, he's going to be a really good player in this league. But, look, you're the NBA guys on this roster. We're going to need you both to get, minimum double digits, if not 15, 16 points to give us a chance. And they weren't able to do that today. But I like the way they played. I like the way they fought back from a couple of like big hits they took from Team USA, particularly in that first half. It was still somewhat up in the air a little bit, middle of the third quarter, and then Team USA put it away. Listen, the minutes you mentioned about Jokic, were you surprised, as I was, that he was in the game with like 3 minutes to go?
Well, so one of the things about group play in the Olympics is the point differential matters. Like that in-season tournament, you don't want to lose by too much. And unfortunately, they brought him out with like 2 minutes to go, and I think USA went on a 10-0 run to close this to make it even bigger. So it could come back to haunt him. It's one of the things about Olympic play that's unique is you kind of have to play your guys all the way through because that differential.
Which, by the way, if anybody was watching the game today and thought it was odd that LeBron and Curry both shot the ball in the last 30 seconds of the game, it's to your point. Yeah. That's really what it is. It's like, that's also what they dealt with in the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
That ruffled some feathers at the end of some of those games.
Yeah.
But because it was like they come down there, they could have held the ball for like the clock would have run out. Serbia scored, and there was less time on the shot clock. And Team USA took 2 more shots, and Curry hit a 3. And people were going like, "Man, what are they doing?" But that's you're right. That's part of international play. Overall, though, Serbia, I was impressed with their effort. I just they needed a couple of their better players to play well, and they didn't today.
All right, let's. That's enough for the Olympics for today. On the other side, let's take a quick break. On the other side, I want to get into ESPN did a really interesting thing. They ranked the top 25 players of the 21st century. Does legs agree with their top 10 guys? We'll get to that and more, all on the other side of this break here. But first, let me tell you guys about FitBod. Whether you are an experienced gym goer or you're just starting out your fitness journey, there's an essential workout accessory that you're going to need, and that is FitBod. It's an incredible app. I got to trial this thing for a full year. It's an incredible app where you put in what your goals are, how experienced you are, your height, weight, what type of equipment you have, what type of workouts you prefer to do, high rep, low rep, what are you all these different inputs. It asks you all these questions, and then it tailors a workout and a workout plan for you. And it's nice because you can do this for a single day. Maybe you're on the road, you're at a hotel gym. They got some dumbbells. They got a little machine over here. You just put in, okay, here's what I got, and I want to get a good upper body workout in. It'll customize a workout for you, including walk you through how to do all the exercise in case there's an exercise that's you're not familiar with. It's a really, really helpful app. And it also tracks, like I know I see people at the gym all the time. They got the little notepad, they're writing down their reps, and they're trying to track every little thing they do. What's nice about this one is you track what you do on the app, and then it gives you all of these, all these details about your workouts over time. It's not just what did I do last time I worked out, but it'll tell you, hey, you're making progress in this zone or in this arena. Here's how we can track you over months. It's also got diet plans and a whole bunch of other things. And then one of the other features I like about it, you can, it gives you push notifications. So sometimes you just need somebody in your ear telling you, get to the gym, go and do this. When you start with this, it could send you things like, hey, have you worked out today? What have you done? Just that reminder sometimes is enough to get you up and get you in the gym. So add FitBod to your workout essentials. Join FitBod today to get your personalized workout plan. And we got great news. You get 25% off your subscription and you can try it for free at fitbod.me/allnba. That's fitbod.me/ALLNBA. Really cool product. Also want to tell you about BetterHelp. So we're talking about health here, physical health. Now we'll talk about mental health. When life goes fast, it's important to take a moment to celebrate your wins and make adjustments for the rest of the year. Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. We're kind of right around the halfway point of the year. It is a great time to kind of take stock and say, how have I been doing with different things? Are there big decisions on my horizon? Am I looking to switch careers? Do I have something going on in my personal life? Maybe it'd be good to try therapy and give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And here's the cool thing. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So if you get paired with somebody, you're not really feeling, the chemistry between the two of you, you can switch, no charge. Take a moment, visit betterhelp.com/allnba, and you get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ALLNBA. All right, we are back here, segment 2 of the All NBA show with Mares and Legler. And ESPN had an interesting thing, Legler, last week that kind of, it's the off season, so you start putting together lists. They put together a list of the top 25 NBA players of the 21st century since 2000. And I thought it'd be fun to go over the list. Number 1 is no surprise. I actually think the top 5 are really pretty easy, but number 1's no surprise. It's LeBron James. I don't even know if we need to say anything here, but if you talk from 2000 on, LeBron James, pretty simple.
Well, look, I think I don't know if anybody out there that at all that follows this and has an input on lists, whether you're actually a person that contributes to some of these lists or just a fan that likes to have these debates over a beer, that doesn't have LeBron James in the top 2 all time, I'm pretty surprised at this point. Like, I think most people, right? It's Jordan and LeBron. So if he's top 2 all time, he's certainly going to be, I think, number 1 for the 21st century. I think it was a pretty obvious choice. I agree with you. There's not much else to say. What's actually incredible to me is that this guy is about to turn 40, correct? In December, I believe.
Yep.
And he is still playing at a level that he's on an Olympic team with all of these players. And he was the guy today that was controlling all of the action still. It's actually mind blowing that he's still doing it at the level he is at this age. It's incredible. I don't know when this is going to end, when he's ever going to slow down and stop or lose the fire to keep playing. I don't know. It doesn't look like he would have to come in the next 3-4 years, which is insane. But I mean, I don't know what it would take for him to just not want to do this anymore, because I don't think it's going to be physical. It's going to be like a desire thing in the offseason. Does he really want to commit to it? But this was an easy choice. And he still continues to blow our mind with how good he looks at this age.
The cool thing about today was he can't be the best player for 82 games anymore. And I'm not sure he can be the best player for 16 games. Now you go to the playoffs that many, but you talk about one day, like you got rest, you come into it one game. He's still good enough to be the best player of anybody. And games like today show you. Number 2 was interesting. Kobe Bryant, number 2. Now, if we scroll down just a little bit more here, producer Allie, you've got Steph Curry 3, and you've got, let's see, Tim Duncan number 4, Shaquille O'Neal number 5. Shaquille O'Neal's interesting because he did have a little bit of his career before, the year 2000. So if we just go with that top 5 and we go Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal, do you agree with that order?
Oh, man.
It's tough.
It's really tough. I'm going to say that I'm okay with this. Like there's nothing that jumped off the page to me. And you know me, Adam, some things do, just like the Jayson Tatum conversation. Some things hit me.
Yeah,
it's like a cord, right? You know that about me by now. Nothing when I looked at it was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Not in the top 5. A little bit when you start to go beyond that. I got some thoughts on those next spots.
Yeah.
But now, if you wanted to, let me ask you a question. Do you think it's a valid argument someone could make that you could actually put Curry too?
100%. And actually, of all the guys on the list, that was the one. Kobe and Steph were the 2 that you could kind of go back and forth on. Ultimately, I think I would have had Kobe there. But I do think that what we've seen with Steph is so hard to quantify because it's so different than how anybody else has ever done it. But there's no question how dominant the way he plays and the impact he has.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Curry that I think always gets infused in the conversation when you start thinking about ranking him historically and his legacy. Because look, as great as Kobe Bryant was, and we all know how great Kobe Bryant was, he was in a lot of ways, right? He was he kind of was the next closest imitation of Michael Jordan. Right? Very similar physical profile, the way that they played. I mean, Kobe Bryant alluded to that throughout his career. He studied him when he was growing up. But with Steph Curry, there really isn't anybody else to compare him to historically. He is a one-off. The way that he played, the distances with which he shot that accurately, we've never seen anything like Steph Curry. Kobe Bryant is a lot like Michael Jordan, just in terms of the way that they played. So I think sometimes people can use the uniqueness of Steph Curry as the differentiating factor in why you would move him up certain lists ahead of other guys. I don't have a problem with either one of those guys being second and third. So to me, that's how they have the list. I'm fine with it.
I actually think 2 through 5, I wouldn't be upset at any order that you put those guys in. I like the order that they put them, but I think you can make a case for any of those guys. But when you get after that, there's a little bit of a drop-off. So now you get to number 6. We'll go 6 through 10 here. Yeah. Kevin Garnett, Nikola Jokic, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki. This is the one, these guys here is where it gets a little bit interesting to me, where I go, I disagree with the order of this one entirely, but I'm curious what you think.
Well, it's interesting to have Garnett ahead of Jokic.
100%.
At this point for me, and if you look at their resumes, and it's listed on here, if you guys, anyone wants to pull this page up quickly, it'll say key accomplishments. And so just read through that and compare it to Jokic. And what's going to stand out to you is the defensive stuff. 12-time all defensive team, defensive player of the year, 8-time all NBA selection.
Right.
That is what is the differentiating factor clearly, because he's got one title and he went to a team and, he built a super team with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo. Jokic was a guy that they drafted that, Denver had from the beginning, and the team was built around him.
Right.
So it's a little bit different, but he's got one title.
Means
three
something, yeah.
three MVPs already, and who knows if he gets more. So for me, people that put this list together, I think they just had to put so much stock in the fact that Kevin Garnett's legacy, in a lot of regards, is his impact on the defensive end of the floor is so special. And I think he might be the greatest defensive communicator I personally have ever witnessed.
I love the way you phrase that.
And I think, and obviously brought the intensity every night on that end of the floor. And you see the accomplishments, all of the things on his resume speak to that end of the floor. I guess that's what the people that voted for this list and put this together, they must have given that an awful lot of weight, because that's surprising to me when you have him ahead of a guy that's a 3-time MVP and an NBA champion.
Yeah. To me, Jokic would be number 6 on this list. I'm biased, of course. I'm a big Jokic guy, but he'd be there. But I think it even gets interesting after that. When you go to Garnett, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Durant behind Dwayne Wade even feels weird to me.
Yeah,
and then Dirk Nowitzki and KD.
I'd have a problem with that. I think that's the first. I would put Jokic ahead of Garnett, but it didn't get me like, oh, come on. Like, I wasn't like that. But I would put Jokic ahead of Garnett, and I would definitely put Kevin Durant ahead of Dwayne Wade.
I think they would be 6-7. To me, that would be 6-7, and then I would get to the rest of that list.
To me, this is clearly okay. So again, I'm just trying to read into the minds of the people that put this together. And to me, what separated them in their minds is the fact that Kevin Durant's 2 titles came with a great team already in place.
Yeah.
And playing alongside Steph Curry, who, by the way, is 3rd on this list. Okay.
Right.
Dwayne Wade led a team in 2006, not only to a championship as their best player, but it's one of the greatest finals performances in modern times. What he did. He had a 4-game stretch in that series where he averaged almost 40 points a game in that series in 2006 against Dallas. So I think that is what people looked at and said, okay, Wade, multiple-time champion, Durant, multiple-time champion, but Dwayne Wade's got that one in 2006. That looks a little bit different than the 2 Durant got in Golden State. And I think that's what they probably used as a deciding factor between those 2. But I personally would have put Kevin Durant ahead of him.
If we scroll down now to the next 5, we got Giannis at 11, Steve Nash at 12, James Harden at 13, Jason Kidd at 14, Chris Paul at 15. I've done these lists before. It's hard. Nobody ever agrees with the list, and they're for fun, so I never get mad at them. I like Giannis at 11, but I think James Harden might be a guy. And I don't like him. I didn't like his game. I was never a guy I rooted for, but I think he's a guy that might be getting discounted a little bit when we talk about what he accomplished. So he, for me, would have been a little bit higher. And I think Chris Paul, I probably would have had a little bit higher as well. But what did you make of that next 5?
Before we get there, okay, I guess he's part of the next 5, but do you have any issue with Dirk being ahead of Giannis? I think I'd put Giannis over him.
I think so. I think I'm with you. Giannis, I think Giannis and his both of those title runs individually were 2 of the best, I think, that we've seen in the 21st century. So they both deserve that. But Giannis.
And again, so Dirk got the 1 title, and he was spectacular in doing that, obviously, and beating that great Heat team. And that was incredible what he did. But Giannis has a title. Giannis has 2 MVPs to Dirk's 1. And then if you're going to use the defensive stuff that separates Garnett and Jokic, well, why isn't that used here? Giannis Antetokounmpo is the defensive player of the year. He's a 5-time all-defensive player. Yeah. Right. So, and he's obviously a much more imposing physical presence defensively than Dirk ever was. So to me, that one gets a little bit skewed. This to me is almost more about Dirk's number, like getting to, plus 30,000, one of the all-time great scorers this league has ever seen. And on top of it has an MVP and a championship. Maybe if this, 5 years from now, that this won't be the case. Giannis will have supplanted him because he just needs more time. He's an 8-time All-Star. Dirk made 14 All-Star teams. Giannis isn't old enough to do that yet. So I think that could change over time, but I think I might move him there now. After that, Nash, Harden, Kidd, and Chris Paul. You go basically 4 point guards in a row. Yep. Man, that's a tough one. That's tough. I mean, look, Nash did win back-to-back MVPs. He never won a championship. Yep. Harden's never won a championship. J. Kidd did, but he was in a lesser role later on in his career in Dallas. Chris Paul has not.
Right. How would you order those? It's tough. I'm just so curious.
That is tough, man.
It might be coin flip. It might be one of those ones where you're just not mad.
I don't know, man. I think for me, I probably would Chris Paul, even though this end here, these last several years, has not been good with all these injuries and just, I might leapfrog him up over to the top of these 4 guys.
Yeah.
And then him and Nash, whatever, coin toss for 12. The other guy gets 13. And then I'd probably put Kidd over Harden. I know how spectacular individually as a scorer James Harden is. I just feel like Jason Kidd is a little bit more to me of a winner.
Yeah. I think it's fair. I think it's probably fair. If we go to the rest of the list here, at 16 is Kawhi Leonard. The hardest player of the 21st century, I think, to quantify is probably Kawhi Leonard. His career is so strange. They put Manu Ginobili 17, Allen Iverson 18, Anthony Davis 19, Ray Allen 20, Tony Parker 21, Draymond Green 22, Russell Westbrook, your guy, 23, Pau Gasol 24, Luka Doncic 25. Just as you go through this list real quick, as I just kind of went quickly through the bottom 10 of it, was there anybody that you thought was way too low that you would move up? If there's 1 or 2 guys.
I probably, based on how those last set of names you rattled off, I mean, I don't know, Manu ahead of Iverson.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, I love Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili,
too.
During his time in the league, Manu Ginobili was one of my 5 favorite players to watch. And he might play 25 minutes, but he might be so impactful, right? I get it. But at the same time, he was pretty much always kind of regarded as the 3rd best player on his team. And he won a lot of championships and he was very clutch. And Allen Iverson wasn't able to win a championship. But there's so many things attached to Allen Iverson, man. And just his iconic style and flair and the way he played and like the team he led to the NBA finals against the Lakers. Like, how limited that team was, and he took them all the way there in his MVP year. That one's a tough one for me to think that Manu, and that's just strictly based on winning. That's all that's about. Because I don't think you could do that necessarily on a talent basis. So I think Iverson and Ginobili is an argument. The rest of those guys, I don't have anything that jumps out that's really kind of surprising. I will say this, Luka's 25. Give Luka. Let's revisit this in 5 years.
Yeah,
and see where Luka is then. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about. I love Russell Westbrook too, but Westbrook, Luka Doncic, like even already, if we talking peaks, I probably would have Luka ahead of the peak.
All right, let me ask. All right, now I will say that something just kind of popped in my head. So they're saying definitively, clearly, without question, Draymond Green was the 2nd most important player for the Warriors' run.
Since Klay Thompson's not on it,
not Klay Thompson.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I actually tend to agree with this, but it sounds like you're going to disagree with it. Draymond Green was the defensive half of that equation, with Steph Curry being the offensive half, and then Klay Thompson, obviously, the gasoline on the fire. You disagree?
No, I don't disagree. I agree with you. I think that's a fair statement. Yeah. I was scrolling down the list and I glanced at it before, but then we kind of went into it in depth now. And as I was sliding down here on my screen, I was just kind of like, oh, that kind of surprised me. The Draymond Green popped up there at 22. Yeah. I wasn't really expecting that.
Yeah. The 2 names that are not on this list that are interesting, Joel Embiid did not make the list. And Dwight Howard did not make the list. And I think both of those guys probably should be on the list. Embiid needs to have some more playoff success. I think when you look at that list, clearly they rewarded winning and making it to finals and different things. But Dwight Howard made it to a finals. He was an unbelievable. I think, like James Harden, a lot of people hate Dwight Howard. And I think it hurts him a little bit. But to me, he would have probably been in the top 20, not off of the list. What do you think about those 2 omissions?
Some guys, it's almost like their legacy is better off if they cut their career almost in half in terms of the number of years they played. And that's what it comes down to for Dwight Howard. It's like everything that happened after that, because he won, I don't know how many defensive players of the years he won in Orlando, and what a physical presence and force he was, led a team to the NBA finals. But then it was like, look at all of the stops after that. And it almost starts to dilute, and you get so far removed from like what you were in the beginning of your career. It's harder for people to even give you credit for it anymore. I agree with you. You go back and look at the beginning of his career. First probably 8 years in the NBA.
Dominant,
man. I mean, just go back and look at those numbers and just look at his presence. on the court. There's no doubt about that.
All right, let's take one last break. On the other side, we're going to have a short segment here. We're going to talk about the 3-on-3 tournament in the Olympics and try to build. I built my team. Legs built his team. You let us know whose 3-on-3 team you think is better if we were to build it out of current NBA guys. And then at the end, Legler's camp. I'm very curious to hear what his coaching strategy is like and his style is like. So we'll get to that on the other side. But first, get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company offering world-class products rated by 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all of your outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style, and they probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. You head to shadyrays.com and use code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Lastly, I want to tell you about Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for candidates isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. That's the hard part about hiring, especially in today's very crowded job market. You put out an ad, you want to hire people, you get 100 different candidates applying immediately, most of whom are not qualified for it. Well, Indeed does a lot of the busy work for you. They screen, they send messages, they help you connect with candidates faster, and they have a really nice platform that is very easy to navigate and set up if you are an employer looking to add someone to your team. And listeners of the show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/ALLCITY right now. You support the show by saving you some money here. Go to Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. All right, final segment here of the All NBA show. 3-on-3 is in the Olympics now, and I didn't know this, Legs. I went to Serbia a couple years back, and I learned that in Serbia, 3-on-3 is more popular than 5-on-5, in large part because it's just easier to find 6 people to play basketball than it is to find 10 people. So 3-on-3 is not just a game. Like for me growing up, 3-on-3 was, you only did that if you didn't have enough guys to play 5-on-5. But apparently, in a lot of the world, 3-on-3 is its own version of basketball that people play. They have it. Jimmer Fredette, it starts on Wednesday, I believe, of this week, or the men's side does. Jimmer Fredette is representing Team USA. He seems like a perfect 3-on-3 player, by the way. That's like his game is tailor-made for that. But I thought it would be fun if we just tried to build our own 3-on-3 rosters. Maybe Tatum. Maybe you could we could just swap him out. If he's not going to play, we'll put him and Halliburton can go join Jimmer.
Hey, he might be seen if they got any minutes over there, the 3-on-3 competition.
I don't think he'd get a DNP. All right, so what was your list? If you were to build a 3-on-3, who are the 3 guys you would pick of current NBA guys?
Look, this could be a number of ways you can go on this. Here's what I thought to myself and trying to think about. First is, I don't think you can have guys that are kind of one-dimensional offensively. You know what I mean? For something like this. So I wanted guys that could score in multiple platforms. You've got to have good passing. You've got to have good shooting, like deep shooting, but then you've also got to have breakdown ability because you got to be able to beat your guy off the dribble and right. Get to the hole or get to a mid-range. So what do you think of these 3?
Okay.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Can't stop him. Can't guard him.
Kevin Durant.
Okay.
And Jokic.
And Jokic. I like it. Okay. Well, Jokic is a mismatch. You're not going to get switch a guard onto him.
Jokic's passing and screening ability, man, and something like that, when you're playing 3-on-3 half court, his screening and passing and reading ability and making you pay, and then can step out if you don't guard him, can step out and make a shot from anywhere. And if you play him in a post and he gets somebody on his back, he's going to score on him down there too. And it's really hard to double in a 3-on-3 game. Yeah. So, I just think he'd be the perfect big. You got to have at least one big. So that's 3 guys. I'd be very confident I'd do very well in a 3-on-3 tournament with those 3.
I think you'd do very well as well. My guys were LeBron James. I mean, just watching him in this tournament, he's still at the top of his game. Kevin Durant, another mismatch. You got two guys that you really are not going to be able to play anybody small against. They're going to be too big for you. And then I like Anthony Davis because I do think you probably need a screener, a roller, a rebounder. He can move and guard. He'll guard you. If you put a guard on him, he's still going to be able to switch. So I went with three guys that are physical mismatches that probably swallow up a lot of these teams. And that would be my squad. So let us know in the comments, by the way, if you make it this far in the show, let us know in the comments whose team you think would win. Shea, Jokic, and who was your third?
Kevin Durant.
And Kevin Durant. So we both had Durant. Then I went with LeBron and Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant. Let us know whose team you thought was best. Lastly, before we get out of here, Legs, you have the Tim Legler basketball camp. How many years have you been doing this?
This is my 16th year with this version of it in South Jersey. Very proud of what it's become. We've sold out, I don't know how many years in a row now. We sell out, we stopped taking admissions, a couple weeks ago. Very, very proud of it, man. I got an incredible staff, like some of the best high school coaches in South Jersey, Philadelphia area. Same guys come back every year. They love working the camp because of what it's about. It's a legitimate basketball camp. Doesn't mean all the players are big time players. And there's a lot of kids that come through camp that may not even play middle school or high school basketball, but they love the game. They want to get better. So we kind of cater it toward all levels. And I will make sure you are playing against appropriate level players in your skill development. And then in the games, mix up the best players and make those guys understand the importance of, and young ladies, because it's a co-ed camp, make them understand the importance of being one of the better players at camp and how they have to make the game easier for other kids on their team that maybe some of those things don't come easy to, but while at the same time expressing their freedom and individuality and talent offensively. It's like a big time. My camp, Adam, is a lot of it is about the psychology that goes into being a great player and being a great teammate, being a great leader, and what all that looks like, while also giving them a ton of instruction on the stuff they need to master, or else it's going to end early for you as a basketball player. There are certain things that are non-negotiable. Your footwork, your pivoting, your ability to control the basketball with your dribble and your ball handling. So it just makes you a more versatile player. You can escape traffic. You have more options available to you. Obviously, shooting is highly emphasized in my camp, but getting the right mechanics. And so I give them the tools. What I find a lot of these young players, Adam, they come in, they want to get better. They have no idea what to do with their time. Like, okay, I got an hour to myself today. What do I do?
Yeah.
How do I get better? Like, what's a practice plan for me in my driveway if I'm by myself? Or I give them sort of a game plan. If you got one other guy to work out with you, if you got two other guys, here are the drills you can get done with 3 people. Here are the drills you can get done with 2 people to maximize your time, effort, efficiency. And if you're by yourself, here's what it's going to look like for the next 45 minutes to an hour, so you're not wasting your time and you're maxing out what you're working on. Players have no idea at that age. They don't know what they're supposed to do. What do I do? It's, they end up just taking a bunch of shots in their driveway and come shoot it, walk after it, get it, shoot it again, or they'll do like a little move and make a shot. Like, no, okay, here's the things you need to work on to rapidly progress. Here's how you maximize the next 45 minutes to an hour, whether it's 1 of you, 2 of you, 3 of you, whatever it may be. And that seems to be something that I've found over the years they crave. They love that sort of plan, because they leave feeling much more confident that they can now go and take that home, take that to their driveway, take that to their gym, take that when they work out with their dad, who can rebound for them. I got an idea now what I'm supposed to be doing to get better. That's a big part of the camp. And then the final component for me, I love competition. So there's a league within the camp. Everybody plays 2 games every day. I have standings. I have championship playoffs and all that. The last day of camp,
I miss camp.
Kids get so excited for it. You go on the website and look at some of the video from last year. We had 2 overtime games to decide the last 2 championship games of the week, right before the award ceremony. And like the entire gym was standing there watching these 10 to 12-year-olds that happened to be at that session make really important shots and big free throws, and all the rest of the campers screaming for them. And it was really an awesome environment. It was one of the best finishes to camp we've ever had. And it starts tomorrow, and as you can tell, I'm very excited about it. I won't get much sleep this week, but it's okay. It's worth it.
That's why we won't be doing a show. I mean, we'll do one Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We haven't set the date just yet, but Legs is going to be swamped here over the next 5 days. Let me just ask you, what do you get out of it? Because I just said I miss camp. Basketball camps to me were some of the most fun things, middle school age, elementary age, and even into high school. But what do you get out of it now coaching them?
Very simple. What I get is the knowledge internally that I am doing something for these kids that was done for me when I was learning how to play the game and when I was a young kid. And that is this: someone to take an interest in me, and someone that can have the kind of influence on me that and I say this every single year when they come in on Monday, and I'm going to sit them down tomorrow morning, and the first thing I say is, my goal this week is that when you leave here on Thursday afternoon, you love this more than you did when you got here today. That's my goal. And the reason is because you're going to have fun, but you're also going to learn. We're going to make this about camaraderie, and you're going to make new friends, or you're going to buy in to what it is to be part of a team. And I'm going to make sure that you leave here, and I've done my job as a coach. I've made you love it more. Unfortunately, I've heard too many examples over the years of kids that had a particular coach or an experience along the way. Maybe it was a teammate, maybe it was a coach, whatever it was, that actually made it such an unenjoyable experience that they gave up the game. They found something else to do. And I lecture all of my high school coaches when we start out. I tell them all before we begin, that's your job this week. These kids need to love this game more on Thursday when they leave here than they do when they walked in here today. That's your job. I had people do that for me, and it changed the course of my life. And I'm going to try to now pass that on to them. And I feel like my high school basketball coach, the late, great Ralph Crockett, who died a couple of years ago, was a second father to me. My college coaches that recruited me, brought me into LaSalle, the pro coaches that I played for, I'm hoping that I'm making them proud because I am passing on what they gave me, which was constant encouragement and telling me ways that I could love the game more, because the game will give back if you love it. And that's the one thing that's guaranteed about basketball. It will give back to you if you are willing to put the time in.
You got me fired up, Tim.
You need to come work it next summer.
Hey, man, I'm in. You give me the invite, I'm there. I don't even need paid. I'll hand out the Gatorade. I'll do whatever. I'll teach the Bucks. I was gonna say, is there an age limit? Is 40 too old? Can I still participate?
I got a buddy that's a neighbor in Florida that wants to fly up and participate. I said, man, listen, there's a great thing about it too, Adam. If you're a coach, like you coach games, you do individual skill work at baskets, you ref games, you keep the clock. Like you do everything throughout the week. You're going to do it all. And it's amazing. I love the part when I see these coaches who have never met a lot of these kids, the way they bond with some of these kids when they leave, by the time they leave on Thursday. Like, the way these kids react to the coaches and the positive impact they had on them, and the impact the kids had on the coaches throughout the week. They just become very memorable to you for a lot of different reasons. I also hand out something called a Coach's Choice Award, which is a big deal. It has nothing to do with talent. I give out awards for talent, most outstanding player competitions. You win awards, you earn that. This one is subjective. It's me. And I get feedback from coaches, but I'm observing everything all week. And I tell them, this is the word that your parents want you to walk in the door with, because you know what? It has nothing to do with how you might be one of the weakest players or most inexperienced players in this camp. It's how do you conduct yourself with enthusiasm, energy? Are you great teammates? Do you pick up your teammates when they have a turnover or miss a shot? Are you the one patting them on the back as you're running down a court? Are you always have your eyes on me when I'm speaking to you? Do you hustle from place to place? Are you that kid that is an absolute reflection of great parenting? That's the kid that's going to walk home with a Coach's Choice Award. And every year I call out that name, and I put more than one set of parents in tears, believe me, when they hear their child's name called on Thursday getting that award, because they know they're doing something right at home.
You got me fired up, man. Next year I'm in. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to remind you. We'll get Emma out there. We'll get Emma. She'll
Especially
come film.
Now that I know that you're 6'10", I didn't know you were that big. Now that I can have you doing post drills, no problem.
There you go, man. There you go. All right, we got a couple super chats to get out of here. Allie, what do we have? Psycho Blue says, "Are we sure that Embiid isn't actually playing for France or Cameroon as a double agent?"
Man, I don't know. We'll see, man. I want it to be better for him going forward, because he just did not look like this was super enjoyable. And even at the airport when they landed, the camera was on all those guys. He looked absolutely miserable standing at the airport. And I was just going, man, what's going on? And if he's not feeling well, that can contribute to it. So let's see what happens going forward. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's going to turn it around, play better, and also just look like he's more into it.
Yeah. Too many haters out there, man. I don't want to clown on him too hard. He had a bad one today. What else we got? Psycho Blue again. He says, I'd talk about Basketball Cthulhu having a hand in Tyus's new deal, but the Wizards front office doesn't need his help, letting good players leave for nothing or for pennies to the dollar. Tyus Jones to Phoenix. They got him and Monte Morris, who are kind of very similar players, but I think both of those guys on the deals they got, those are good deals for Phoenix.
I like Tyus Jones a lot because I thought that's one thing they lacked last year was a natural playmaker and a floor leader, and he gives them that. So I think that's important.
There you go. And then we had one, I believe. Cedric Exquisite says, Tim, I got to have you one day on my show. Thanks always. If it was France/Embiid on the same team versus USA, who would win? P.S. Who do you think can beat USA?
I think France is going to be formidable. I think
we talked about this in the last show.
Remember, we had a couple other teams that came up. I thought
Germany, Canada.
Canada, obviously Canada's got 10 NBA players. Canada certainly is a threat. They can play well enough on a given night, and they're not going to be intimidated by what's in front of them. So Canada clearly would be a team you look at. Greece just doesn't seem like they've got enough talent. I think France, with the unique length that they can – the look they can give with Gobert and Wembanyama is going to be different and really force USA to make perimeter shots. So that would be an interesting one if we ever get there.
Legs, I know you got a busy week. Thanks for taking an hour to get this. Everybody, we appreciate you spending the time with us. Like I said, stay tuned to our YouTube channel. Always hit alerts. Make sure you subscribe because we will do a show over the weekend. Just not sure what day that'll be. Hit that like button for us on the way out. See you on the weekend.
All city like the mayor.